been a lot of political and news commentary about how to address the coronavirus. And I know we've all been inundated by a lot of that news. So one of the questions is around the current political debate as to how best address coronavirus. And there seems to be two positions being put out there in the media. One is to mandate a widespread shutdown to slow the virus, but potentially risk joblessness and financial vulnerability for the 38 million Americans living in poverty and the 55 million without emergency savings, or alternatively to attempt to self-isolate high-risk populations and allowing the young to work and keep the economy going. The question I have for you is this the right debate to be having, or is there some other way that our politicians should be thinking about addressing the coronavirus?
When you talk about the news media and the TV, you have Fox channel, you know what to expect from them. You have CNN, you know what to expect from them. And you have MSNBC, you know what to expect from them. Because they are all colored according to what they want, what is their agenda behind. And so you cannot have any agreement on that, except that how many people died and how it is being presented is very important. The one thing that I am really unhappy about is the fear that has been created in the people who listen to it, whether it is NBC or whether it is CNN. Fox doesn't create as much fear as other channels are. That doesn't mean that I support Fox News or I'm a Republican. No, I have nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. But what concerns me is the fear that has been created perpetually. It's going on every minute, and people are, have no life at all, except to fear what is going to happen to me. The stock market fell. And then they say it's very difficult to even recover in a reasonable time. And that's one thing. People lost a lot of jobs. All these things happen because of one little thing, that is fear. Fear was responsible for creating the collapse of the stock market. And fear has driven people to create this negative reality. So what the news media should be doing is that to promote about what is life and what is death. And after all, it's not that death is not taking place around us. So once a woman went to the Buddha and told that my son died, you have to bring him back to life. The Buddha said, okay, I will do that, provided you can go and get some mustard seeds. But there is a condition. You should not get this mustard seed from a house. You should get it from a house where no death has occurred. So she goes and then talks to people. Oh, I can give you mustard seed, but my brother died, or my sister died, or my child died. So what this story says is death is a reality. And why do we have personally so much fear about death? And the news media is predicting this. So there's only one problem is that whatever is the state of mind you have, and you are going to create that reality, you are overwhelmingly afraid of death, and that you are going to create that reality. So the news media, from morning till evening, it's unbelievable. You just go and then turn on the TV at 2 in the morning, they talk about this. Okay. So they should stop doing this. I'll give you one example. Just before I came here, I was watching 2 medical doctors. And both of them are celebrities. One is a Harvard guy, and another woman is on the task force of the White House. And then this reporter was asking a question. So we don't have enough ventilators. And this task force woman is saying that, the doctor is saying that, no, we don't know. We don't know what will be our needs. But the other doctor from Harvard, he said, no, we are definitely in shortage of ventilators. And then the reporter was trying to, fault someone, but they seem to be in good understanding. So when the Harvard professor came and he said, she's not wrong. I have great respect for her. It depends upon where we get the data from. I got a data from some other source. Okay. So everything is an interpretation, because these people are well educated, they can understand, and then not become politically swayed one way or the other. It depends upon where we get the data, and then how we predict, and on what basis we are going to predict. All these things are necessary. So journalism is something to play on your emotions, because most people are not very, analytical, to say the least. They just go by emotions too. So there are audience who will watch Fox channel, Fox TV, versus people who listen to the CNN. So they both have their agendas. One wants to destroy Trump, the other wants to promote Trump. So you don't want to go by any of these things. That's what my advice to you. But what I want to teach is, I'm sure that people who are listening to me or people who are following me, one thing is to realize what I just started talking about, death. Death is a reality. It's going to happen to everyone, unless you are at a very high level, like a Tamil Siddha, who want to turn their body into light. And that is not going to be the reality for 99.99999% of the people. So I won't talk about that. Although I would say that is a possibility. That is definitely a possibility. But then I'm here to talk about the possibility for most of the people. So what you have to do is, you should not even think one negative thought. It's all going to be fine. It will be fine. So that's one of the things that I like about Trump, for which he was criticized. He said that this is like a flu and it is going to go away. The media presented that he is downplaying it and he has no knowledge about it. Not that he doesn't have knowledge about it. Anybody would have knowledge about it. But the one thing that I would interpret it, he doesn't want to create the fear in people. And what are you going to get out of the fear? Even the worst happens. It's not going to be, even if you ask people, how many people are going to die? And somebody was telling me that some 5 million people die out of heart attack. See, you don't, first of all, even people misrepresent the facts and creating fear. And what is the outcome? 4 million, nearly 4 million people they have lost their jobs. Stock market has gone down. And what is the state of mind of the people? In fear, in total fear. And if you continue like this and not going to, go work, then you are going to ruminate over this over and over again. There is a saying in Sanskrit, you become as you think. Yad bhavam tat bhavati. So you are thinking about day in and day about this pandemic. That's what is needed now. What is needed now is just to think very fruitful thoughts, distract yourself, and then, not by watching movies. Watching movies are much better than, listening to negative things. So news media has a responsibility not to put fear, because they have to protect the economy and protect the psychology of the people. And any news item that is going to create fear in the name of presenting the fact and preparing them for the worst, why don't you prepare for the best? The worst, if the worst is going to happen, it's going to happen anyway, because that is another reality. But which reality are you going to focus on? And that is the most important thing. There is only one thing that people have to understand, that is your mind, your thought process. How many thoughts, you think in a minute? Like, I think you have about 35 thoughts. That's the statistics. Out of the 35 thoughts, how many of them are fearful thoughts? At this point, just you have to look at that. And if a number of people, all of America, all of the world now, are involved in thinking fearful thoughts, it's going to create fear, and it is going to create a very bad reality. So that is what I would want to say about the news media and the reality itself. The reality is subject to your thought process, a collective thought process. You go to a bad neighborhood. Why it's bad? Because people there subscribe to those thought patterns. You go to a good neighborhood. Why is it a good neighborhood? Because people living in that neighborhood are having, good thoughts. So thoughts are everything. So if everybody becomes so careful about what they are thinking or what they are speaking and what impact it is creating on others, then we can create a beautiful world. But then in schools and colleges, we don't do that. Okay, I'm not even talking about God. Do they talk about God? Do they ask the question? Any news media, the Fox sometimes does, but CNN or MSNBC or other news media, they don't want to bring in God. Why God is doing this? Because to believe God is not, sophisticated. If you are not, unless you are an evangelist or going to church or superstitious. These are the things. The scientists subscribe to that also. Okay, that's briefly, I just go on, and I have this
Thank you,
habit,
Dr. Pillai.
which I have to change.
Thank you. I'd like to follow on with a question regarding your comments about how our fear flavors our reality.
What's
And
that?
the current statistics presented by the media indicate that the infection curve is still going up.
Well,
How do you see the spread
yeah,
of
that even the curve is subjected to the projection or a reality created by one. See, for instance, we are not even up to date with our sciences or with our mathematics. Einstein changed the concepts that was pre-existing, Newton's concepts, as time. Time is absolute. Space is contained. Newton is a great scientist. Einstein said, no, time is relative. It's not absolute. Space is relative. So now Einstein has been thrown out by the quantum physicists. So now the quantum physicists say that everything is in a flux, non-locality, theory of uncertainty, Heisenberg's theory. Are we living modern science, or are we living or subscribing to the older science? Somebody thought about a curve. If collectively all of the people just discard all these belief systems, it's all the belief systems. Even science is a belief system. And then we have given so much credence to this. So if all of the people can join together and then say we are going to deny that, then it will be a different reality. Norman Cousins developed the science of psychoneuroimmunology for at UCLA Medical School, and he worked with the doctors whose families had to deal with cancer. And he said, come, head first. That's the book he wrote, The Biology of Hope. When you think that this is how it is going to change. And he just did a lot of research with 500 people taking a placebo, because they were told that you are going to have, these are cancer patients, you are going to have lose your hair. Cancer chemo was not administered, only a placebo was administered. And then 35% of the people lost their hair. That is how powerful is our mind. This is very concrete evidence, head first. So we should create a new culture. And in that culture, we should understand the power of our mind, the mind over matter, okay? And not give credence to whatever is being told. So that is what I would like the world to evolve into. Just not accept anybody's model. And at least in a situation like this, as I told you, 35 thoughts in a minute. And how many thoughts are centered on fear? How many thoughts are centered on there are no ventilators? Why are you thinking about ventilators? It is a reality, which we have created because we have become just victims to science and rationality, and not to the new science, not to spring theory, which is the modern theory, which says that nothing is, certain. Einstein had a problem. He said, no. He argued with Rabindranath Tagore. Tagore was was also a Nobel laureate. And he said, whatever I am saying, I have no problem, Einstein said, accepting that the world is an illusion, but it is a persistent illusion. Why is it a persistent illusion? Because of your mind. Okay. And what is needed, to change, to change your reality. If you're poor, you have created this reality. You are rich, you have created that reality. Poverty and prosperity are states of mind created by people. Similarly, we have created tremendous amount of fear, and other people become victim to that. I'll stop it here because there are other people, so I'm not planning to start for a long.